What's the problem here? And how do we solve this?
Well, thank you so much, Kennedy. When I saw the flyer for this program, I think when I retweeted, I made a point that is very, very central. And we're talking about all these racism, talking about xenophobia, perhaps the cause of our diminishing humanity. Because apart from being a South African, being a Nigerian, being a Cameroonian, it's not beyond the skin, it's not beyond your language. It is the same blood that is running in every one of us, irrespective of where you are. So perhaps if we come to embrace our common humanity, there might be less of this stress. But I'm going to anchor on a few things. The number one question, even though I don't want the conversation as much as it has come to dwell so strongly on Zimbabwe, South African, I would have expected that we're going to have a Pan-African conversation that is not narrow. But be it as it may, are we going to, is there anybody on this platform that can genuinely tell us that there are no South Africans in Zimbabwe that are living and working in Zimbabwe now, as we are speaking? Is it possible that we don't have South Africans living and working in Kenya? Because it is very possible when we have this limited perception about others and we begin to take action at local level, we don't think about the global ramification of what we are doing. And I say this with all sense of humility. Today, if you use the word xenophobia as we're on this platform, which country readily comes to mind? I think it's important that our brothers and sisters at the other hand begins to see the boomerang effects of this posture, because I see it as posturing. That is the number one thing that we need to bear at the back of our mind. And two, like I'm a Nigerian, I live in Senegal. And I don't know what the regional framework of free movement of persons look like in Southern Africa, but I know what it looks like in ECOWAS. Now, what framework, policy, or legal, or bilateral, or multilateral frameworks exist in Southern Africa, within the SADC region, that permit nationals of all these countries to to move across their borders? So perhaps it links to the issues that we discussed, I think, last week or 2 weeks ago about policing our borders. So if illegal immigrants are getting into South Africa, it places a question on the border policing. Not necessarily that they have come in and they are now perpetrating crimes. So it's a failure of governance that must be addressed holistically without putting stigma on any national that has come to live or work in South Africa. It is the responsibility of government at the South African level, at the SADC level, to sanitize their border process so that criminal elements do not cross over and infiltrate their society. And then the third issue that I'm going to raise, I kept hearing they've come to take our work, they are coming to take our work. Are people still reasoning like this in the 21st century, where the world is flat, where the world is globalized, and the jobs are now being outsourced, that people can now live in Dakar and work for a South African company? I think it is important that we begin to think this thing, because, see, we move from hunter-gatherer economy where there was no border, where there was no, where people can move across communities. Let me put it that way, because nation state is a recent experiment. There were no nations before. Now, what technology is doing is that it is now breaking down those barriers. And that is the reason why we're having this meeting tonight, that we are not converging in Nairobi or converging in Abuja or converging in South Africa, because technology has now breached that barrier. Now, this is not a time to be thinking somebody is coming to take your job. If you say they cannot take it in the physical sense, they are going to take it within the digital space. So I think we need to begin to reimagine these things and let go of all this kind of old mindset. It's not holding in the 21st century. The world is flat. Nobody is taking anybody's job. You only need to look inward and develop your capacity and compete globally, irrespective of whether you are from Cape Verde, you are from Cameroon, you are from South Africa, or anywhere. I think that is the kind of thinking that we should be having now. Nobody's taking anybody's job. They talk about social inequality. Tell me anywhere, Kennedy, in Africa, that there are no slums. Are there no slums in Nairobi? Are there no slums in Lagos? Are there no poor people in Namibia? So I don't think it's a local thing. And let me tell you, one of the major telecommunication companies in Africa now that is taking,
preach, Dr. Wole, preach.
That is taking over all over the places. The largest telecom company in Nigeria is owned by is from South Africa, MTN. Can people now begin to say, is MTN not repatriating capital from Nigeria to South Africa? Is MTN not repatriating capital from Uganda, from Kenya to South Africa? Please, let's leave this thing. I think and work and reason like global citizens. I don't want to offend the sensibilities of people. I've never talked like this before on this program, but I think we need to confront ourselves and tell ourselves the truth. Thank you so much, Kennedy.
Dr. Wole?
Yes, I'm with you. Hello, Kennedy, I'm with you.
Yes, sorry, I had muted myself. Let me just, if perhaps you can talk about this in 1 minute, because I want to go to other speakers. In some quarters, there is the pervasive, strong anti-migrant sentiments, which are informed by the perceptions of immigrants as a threat to the national security and to the citizens' lives and livelihoods. Now, these perceptions often result from and are in turn reinforced by constant scapegoating by local political leaders and authorities as an attempt to cover or justify, as you may know, their service delivery failures. So, do you think much of this can also be bordering on the political scapegoating, which is a well-documented source of negative attitudes and perceptions towards outsiders, what we are seeing?
Well, I think largely this is a sociological problem, and it's not really between South Africa and other countries alone. I began to think about myself as a Nigerian. How comfortable am I with people from other tribes when probably they come to my region, come to my state? So I think what is manifested at this continental level, it has a microcosm of experience, so to speak, at even subnational levels. So people hand over this thing to people. I've seen people calling me out on Twitter now that I'm saying what I don't know. I don't think it's really funny for some. That is not what we are saying here. No child is born xenophobic. It is people that bring up the child that pass those ideas to the child. A South African boy that is born today or a Zimbabwe boy that is born today, they don't have this thing in their mind. It is the training that we give them over the years, media interaction, the things that we discuss in their presence that reinforce this sociological posture along the line. So what I'm trying to say tonight is that no nation, no national can really localize this. You read it to us, how Nigerians were facing these things in Ghana. It still happened in the recent time. So what I'm trying to say, I'm expecting that we are having a civilized conversation here tonight. I've been privileged to travel to about 20 countries, and I've moved around in Africa. So I see these things manifesting in different ways in Africa. But I'm saying that it is not so much of economics. It's a sociological thing. People need to first renew their mind and think global. South African nationals should be able to take job in Nigeria. It is one thing because somebody is saying here that those South Africans that go to work in Nigeria and all these places, they are not undocumented immigrants. Correct, I agree with you. But how are undocumented immigrants getting into South Africa? I want people to listen to me clearly and not get a wrong notion of what I'm not saying. I'm saying it's a border policing problem that South Africa needs to solve with other countries within the SADC. That is what we're trying to say. As we are speaking right now, they are committing crime in Nairobi. Somebody is going to be murdered within the next 24 hours in Lagos or anywhere. So are we now going to say, are we saying, it is only foreigners that are committing murder in those places? It is only foreigners that are committing crime in those places? Please, let us open our mind. Let us open our mind. This is a civilized conversation. It is not a village meeting. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Wole. Thank you so much, Dr. Wole. That is quite Pan-African. But of course, again, I know the more we talk about these issues, the more we get to know the whole the whole context of the problem, and that's why when you see conversation revolving around South Africa and Zimbabwe, there is a problem here. There is a problem here, and we must talk about this because